Welcome back. Today we'll begin discussing Chapter 3, the brain. Have you ever wondered why your brain has not developed into a nose? It is because of the instructions contained in your genes. Genes are chains of chemicals that are arranged like rungs on a twisting ladder. There are about 20,000 to 25,000 genes that contain chemical instructions that equal about 300 pages of written instruction. Genes program the development of individual parts into a complex body and brain. Did you know that your brain weighs less than 3 pounds? It is fueled by sugar, which is glucose, and it has 1 trillion cells divided into 2 groups. The first group is glial cells, and the second group is neurons. The word glial in Greek stands for the word glue. They are non-neuronal cells that provide support nutrition and maintain homeostasis, which means balance. In other words, it regulates the cells from myelin and participate in signal transmissions in the nervous system. In the human brain, glial cells are estimated to outnumber neurons by about 10 to 1. Neurons are responsive cells that process and transmit information by chemical signals. Neurons respond to stimulus and communicate the presence of that stimuli to the central nervous system. This processes the information and sends responses to other parts of the body for action. A number of different types of neurons exist. There are sensory neurons, which respond to touch, sound, light, and numerous other stimuli affecting cells of the sensory organs that then send signals to the spinal cord and the brain. Motor neurons receive signals from the brain and spinal cord and cause muscle contractions and affect glands, while interneurons connect neurons to other neurons within the brain and the spinal cord. Can a brain grow new neurons? Well, canary brains can. They can grow 20,000 neurons a day during spring. Every spring, a canary learns a new breeding song. Primate and human brain. The researchers conclude that adult monkeys and human brains are capable of growing relatively limited number of neurons throughout adulthood. Some new neurons play important roles in continuing to learn and remember new things. This takes place in the hippocampus of the brain. Repairing the brain. Advances in stem cell research suggest that human brain may be able to grow more neurons. Although this is still a goal, it is not a goal that has been reached yet. It will someday, hopefully, repair damages from accidents, disease, Alzheimer's, and many more possibilities. Next, we will talk about the nervous system. First, there is the peripheral nervous system, which is made up of nerves that are located throughout the body, except in the brain and the spinal cord. When there is nerve damage in the peripheral nervous system, there is a possibility of nerves regenerating and bringing about some healing or repair. The body is capable of doing that. However, in the central nervous system, which is made up of neurons located in the brain and spinal cord, this presently cannot occur. As you recall in the previous slide, as adults, we make very few new neurons in our lifetime. Like we just learned in the previous slide, nerves carry information from the senses, the skin, the muscles, and the body organs to and from the spinal cord. Nerves in the peripheral nervous system have the ability to grow or retach if severed or damaged. However, the condition of nerve impulses is an example of all or none response. So in other words, if a neuron responds at all, then it must respond completely for the same thing to happen. Next, we will talk about the effect of alcohol on the central nervous system. It is a psychoactive drug that is classified as a depressant, which means that it depresses the activity of the central nervous system. Many people drink alcohol to feel less anxious and more relaxed. It appears to be a biological link between alcohol and anxiety, and deficiency in a specific brain protein is associated with high anxiety and excessive alcohol use. Next, we will be discussing neurological diseases. The first disease we will discuss is Alzheimer's disease. It is also simply known as Alzheimer's. It is a neurodegenerative disease, and it's characterized by progressive cognitive deterioration plus declining activities of daily living and behavioral changes. The most striking early symptom is loss of short-term memory, which is called amnesia. It usually manifests as minor forgetfulness that becomes steadily more pronounced with illness progression. With relative preservation of older memories, which means that a patient with Alzheimer's disease will forget daily short-term memory experiences while keeping their long-term memory somewhat intact. As Alzheimer's disorder progresses, cognitive impairment extends to the domains of language, skilled movements, recognition, and functions such as decision-making and planning getting impaired. Excessive buildup of a glue-like substance is what causes this. The buildup of this glue-like substance in the brain is what gradually destroys neurons. Researchers recently discovered an experimental vaccine that may help stop the buildup of this glue-like killer substances, and they continue to search for other interventions. Parkinson's disease is a degenerative disorder of the central nervous system that often impairs the sufferer's motor skills and speech. It is a movement disorder. Although I am not saying that Parkinson's disease and drinking alcohol have anything in relation to each other, I do want to point out that, as we learned in the previous slide, when you consume alcohol, it is a depressant to the central nervous system and also can cause motor skills and speech impairments. Again, this has nothing to do with Parkinson's disease, but it does have something to do with the effect on the central nervous system, similar to the way that the central nervous system is affected by Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's disease is characterized by muscle rigidity, tremors, and a slowing of physical movement, and in extreme cases, a loss of physical movement, normally caused by the insufficient formation and action of dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter. It is produced in the neurons of the brain. Secondary symptoms may include high-level cognitive dysfunction and subtle language problems. Parkinson's disease is both chronic and progressive. An example of someone who has Parkinson's disease is Michael J. Fox. The last neurological disease we will look at is myasthenia gravis. This is a neuromuscular disease leading to fluctuating muscle weakness and tiredness. Weakness is typically caused by circulating antibodies that block receptors at the postsynaptic neuromuscular junction. This inhibits the stimulative effect of the neurotransmitter. Myasthenia is treated with immunosuppressants, inhibitors, and selected cases thymectomy, as I botched that word. Anyway, this will be the last neurological disease that we will look at, and this will be the end of the brain chapter for chapter 3.